Wait, Australia is a continent? That sentence alone has launched 1,000 comment wars online. Because every few weeks a video goes viral showing Americans pausing mid-sentence, eyes widening, brains buffering, after realizing that Australia isn't just a country, it's an entire continent all by itself. And the reactions? Absolute disbelief. Some people laugh. Some argue. Some pull out their phones to fact-check reality itself. But here's the thing. This confusion isn't as rare as you think. And once you understand why it happens, everything suddenly makes sense. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might question how geography is even taught in the first place. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. So today, we're diving into one of the internet's favorite cultural shock moments, Americans discovering that Australia is both a country and a continent. We'll look at the funniest reactions, why this misunderstanding exists, how maps in schools play a role, and why Australians find the whole thing equal parts hilarious and exhausting. And trust me, some of the facts coming up later completely flip expectations upside down. It usually starts innocently, a street interview, a classroom question, a podcast conversation drifting off topic. Someone asks, how many continents are there? 7. Easy. Then comes the follow-up, which one is Australia on? And suddenly, there's silence. You can almost hear the mental gears grinding. Some answers come out confidently wrong. Europe? Asia? Isn't it part of Oceania? And then someone drops the truth bomb. Australia is the continent. Cue shock. This is where the reactions get gold. Nervous laughter. Defensive logic. No, that can't be right. Continents are big. As if Australia isn't the 6th largest landmass on Earth. Bigger than Europe, bigger than Antarctica without ice, and nearly the size of the United States. And yet, disbelief remains. But here's where it gets interesting. Because this confusion doesn't mean people are stupid. Not even close. The problem starts with language. In most countries, people learn that continents and countries are separate things. Africa is a continent with dozens of countries. Europe is a continent packed tightly with borders. Asia is massive and complex. Australia breaks that pattern. It's the only continent that is also governed as a single country. No neighboring nations sharing borders. No patchwork of states with different flags. Just one massive landmass, one country, one name. And that alone messes with people's expectations. To make it even more confusing, many Americans grow up hearing the term Oceania instead. Oceania isn't a continent in the traditional sense. It's a region, a cultural and geographic grouping that includes Australia, New Zealand, and thousands of Pacific islands. But Australia itself is still the continent. So depending on how geography was taught, people grow up with different mental models. And once that model is set, it's surprisingly hard to overwrite. Now let's talk about maps, because maps are sneakier than you think. Most classroom maps are centered on Europe or North America. Australia sits way down at the bottom corner, looking isolated, small, and distant. It's often shown with massive oceans around it, which subconsciously makes it feel less significant. Compare that to Europe, which is zoomed in, colorful, and dense with labels. When you finally see Australia placed next to other continents at the same scale, the illusion breaks. Suddenly, Australia looks enormous. Over 25 million square kilometers, home to deserts, rainforests, mountains, and coastlines longer than most people can imagine. And that's when the shock hits hardest. But wait, because geography class didn't prepare people for what actually lives there. A lot of Americans unconsciously picture Australia as a hot island, with kangaroos, beaches, and maybe one city. But Australia is wildly diverse. There are snowfields where people ski. There are tropical rainforests older than the Amazon. There are cities larger than New York in land size. There are time zones, multiple climate zones, entire ecosystems found nowhere else on Earth. Australia has more than 10,000 beaches. If you visited one per day, it would take over 27 years to see them all, and yet people still hesitate to call it a continent. Why? Because it doesn't look like what we've been taught continents should look like. TikTok and YouTube Shorts have poured fuel on this fire. Short clips strip away context, leaving only the moment of confusion. One person freezes. Another laughs. The comment section explodes. Aren't Americans taught geography? How do you not know this? This is embarrassing. But what rarely gets discussed is that confusion about continents isn't uniquely American. Ask people around the world about Europe and Asia being separate continents despite sharing the same landmass, and things get messy fast. Continents are human-made categories. They're not laws of physics, they're agreements. And Australia just happens to sit at the intersection of logic and tradition in a way that breaks people's mental shortcuts. And Australians? They definitely have thoughts about this. Australians watching these videos usually react in one of two ways. The first is laughter. Pure, uncontrollable laughter. The kind that says, "I can't believe this is still happening." The second is exhaustion. Because from their perspective, this isn't a fun fact. It's their entire country being misunderstood again. First it's spiders, then accents, then the belief that everything wants to kill you. And now apparently the landmass itself is up for debate. Australians grow up knowing they live on the smallest continent. It's basic knowledge there. So watching people argue about it online feels surreal. Here's something most people don't realize. Geography education varies massively from place to place. Some schools emphasize political geography. Others focus on physical geography. Some barely go beyond memorizing capitals. And once you leave school, geography isn't something adults regularly revisit. It fades. It blends. It gets replaced by daily life. So when someone confidently says something wrong, it's not arrogance, it's outdated information colliding with a viral moment. But here's the twist that really blows people's minds. Australia is about the same size as the continental United States. Let that sink in. You could fit Germany, France, Spain, Italy, and the UK inside Australia with room left over. It has states larger than entire countries. Western Australia alone is bigger than Western Europe. Flying coast to coast can take over 5 hours. Once people realize that, the continent label suddenly feels obvious. This topic keeps resurfacing because it hits a perfect internet sweet spot. It's surprising, harmless, and taps into cultural curiosity without real consequences. People love learning they were wrong, as long as it's not too personal. And geography mistakes feel safe. They spark debate without lasting damage. Plus, there's something deeply human about watching someone's worldview shift in real time. So yes, Australia is a country. And yes, Australia is also a continent. Both are true. And once you see why, the confusion suddenly feels understandable. The real takeaway here isn't about mocking anyone. It's about how education, language, and perspective shape what we think we know about the world. Now I'm curious, when did you first learn that Australia is a continent? Was it in school, online, or just right now? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe for more cultural deep dives, and check out the next video where we explore even more geography facts that caught the internet completely off guard.